Resident Evil 4 has an amazing randomizer that I just love to make content about. In fact, I was planning on doing a series where I beat it with every single weapon. But even with the enemies, the merchant's inventory, the prices on the merchant, and enemy HP being random, it was like getting a little bit samey. As amazing as the existing mods were, there was still so much potential for an even better randomizer. That's why I commissioned Razor, the guy who made the RE4 trainer, to create a brand new function for the randomizer. The function that normally just allows you to play as mercenaries characters during the main game has now been randomized. Now, when entering every new room in the game re-rolls what character you play as. That means that now there is a 1 in 5 chance that you will be character swapped to either Leon, Hunk, Krauser, Wesker, or Ada. This changes the game a lot. Each character has their own set of skills and unique abilities. This, on top of the regular randomizer, creates the ultimate Resident Evil 4 randomizer. I've done speedruns with nearly all of the additional characters, and I've learned the ins and outs of their particular setups. But how fast can I beat the game when I don't get to control what character I'm playing as? Here are the rules. I'll be playing on the professional difficulty with enemy randomizer enabled, merchant inventory and price randomized, and character randomizing every time I enter a new room. There is a function to manually reroll what character you're playing as if you get stuck, but I will only be using this if I have to. I start up my run and immediately there is something fun and new. I'm playing as Ada. Ada runs faster than Leon by default, and here she is equipped with the Red 9, a great starting weapon. Handguns are phenomenal for the randomizer. They will almost always have ammo, and the Red 9 in particular will do a ton of damage output when upgraded. The first enemies randomize into some chainsaw ladies, just to fuel my anxiety. I successfully managed to find out which one had the grenade though, and I farmed her for it. This is when I would arrive at the next room and can showcase the randomized character function. I randomly got assigned to Hunk, and this is where things get a little bit weird. Each character has their own special abilities, QTE prompts, kicks, neck snaps if you're Hunk, Krauser's sword arm, but they also have certain weapons that they are just not built to use. For example, no one besides Leon can use the rocket launcher. It just won't let you equip it. If you're Hunk though, you can't equip anything besides the TMP and grenades. This makes Hunk the most restrictive character you can play as, especially considering he doesn't even have a knife. So Hunk is kind of just the worst. Considering I only had one grenade and no TMP, Hunk was basically useless in this room. Thankfully, there was a dynamite lady that was willing to kill everyone in the room for me. So nice of her.
Help me.
After 14 kills, we clear the village and achieve bingo. Once into 1-2, we arrive at the first merchant, and this is where it's going to greatly influence the rest of the run. He has the Punisher and the Striker, which was awesome, but there's one problem. Currently, the trainer's other features accidentally disable the Dipman glitch, so the Striker is basically just a normal shotgun. While this removes the ability to do quite a few skips, playing as Krauser and Wesker allows you to do a vast array of brand new skips that you wouldn't be able to do with any other character. I just have to get lucky enough to get them in a room where you can do those skips. Thankfully, I do right away in the factory room. By using Krauser's sword arm as I'm jumping over the half wall, I can get sent out of bounds. From there, I walk through the walls and into the next door where I can kick it open and get back inbounds, skipping these two rooms. From there, I get Ada and run right past the drones with her increased running speed. After that, I get to the next merchant and check his new items. He's selling a small black bass. My run is saved. Thank you, Mr. Merchant. Black bass. The run is saved. Thank God. The boss fights in this mod are also randomized. Well, most of them. Delago is not. Thankfully, I randomized into Krauser, so I could do the most American thing ever, fishing with my bare hands. I punch the fish in the face so hard that he instantly explodes and dies, ending the chapter. So I'm gonna press the sword button to break out of the animation. And then I'm going to jump in the water and punch the fish in the face. I start the next room as Hunk, and because I need to shoot the boxes down, but I don't have a TMP, I need to re-roll the room. This is why the manual re-roll function was added. Once I'm Ada though, I can do it easy peasy, even if the enemies are mostly chainsaw guys. Oh God, a bear trap. Oh! Bro. This brings us to the first real boss fight in El Gigante. I don't have shit for real weapons, so I'm hoping for a boss I can kill without using too many of my resources. Thankfully, I randomized into Leon, so I actually have a knife for once. And I get Krauser as the boss. So I just gave him a few paper cuts and he pocket sands his way out of there. Then I get some girl power going and rescue Ashley with Ada. But the increased running speed actually hurts me here. Ada runs so much faster than Leon that she actually also outruns Ashley. Same with Krauser, so you have to be extra careful with Ashley when playing as those two. At the next merchant, I decide to sell my shotgun and upgrade my attach case and buy the Striker. No Dipman glitch is a bummer, but the Striker is still really good gun, regardless. And with Cabin coming up, I might need it. Keyword might though, because I ended up rolling a Wesker, and so I just punched my way through the entire thing. Didn't really need any guns at all. Still better safe than sorry though. I get through Cabin in about 25 minutes. The next room is the Gigante Runaway section. The boss is a Super Salvador, and I'm Hunk. I still don't have a TMP, and because the game hates me, since Hunk has no knife, I need to use grenades to blow the doors open. So like, this is what we're doing, I guess. The Big Cheese Merchant now has the TMP, so I'm gonna buy that. And since everyone can use it besides Wesker, it's a great choice for overall coverage. Because each character has their own weapons that they can use and not use, creating good coverage so you can beat any room regardless of character is super important for a randomizer like this. Pistols are great as everyone can use them besides Hunk, but the TMP is essential because it's the only gun Hunk can use. And everyone else can use it besides Wesker. You also don't know who you might be playing as when you get into some hard rooms, so you might get soft locked unless you character reroll if you don't have at least a TMP. Speaking of, once I arrive at the Big Cheese, I get there as Leon, and I get the hardest possible combination of bosses I've ever seen. The Mendez boss has 2 phases, but both phases have completely different randomized bosses. The first phase has a Super Salvador, who is really tanky and gives me a haircut a few times. He didn't stun! Why didn't he stun? The second one has a Verdugo, and the second half of Mendez. This is probably a good time to explain how enemy health works. When an enemy is randomized, it retains the health values of the thing it randomized from. So if a Verdugo is what replaces a Crow, then the Verdugo will still have the Crow's HP and it will die in one shot. However, in this instance, that means that Verdugo has Mendez HP, and with his damage resistance, he is basically an unstoppable god. Thankfully, I only have to kill the second half of Mendez, but that's kind of hard with the ultimate killing machine chasing me around this cabin. No! Once I make it out of this hellhole, I arrive at the castle and get a new merchant inventory. This one has a Matilda and it's only 7 grand. This is huge. The Matilda is actually better damage output than the Red 9, and with it being so cheap, I can sell and rebuy it over and over again to get more ammo whenever I run out. I could sell the Red 9 for a ton of money and grab the Matilda. I think I'm gonna do that actually. I know I just upgraded it, but like, I get 42 grand out of that, and then the Matilda does more damage than the Red 9. He also has the Broken Butterfly, but it's a bit out of my budget for now. The next big room is Waterhall, and I get Hunk once again. Not bad since I have a TMP now, but the randomized enemies have helmets for some reason. Every last one of them, so I can't even snap their necks as Hunk. I re-enter the room to save the enemies being killed after I throw some grenades. And that re-rolls me to Ada, which is convenient, but not actually what I was hoping would happen. From there, I fend off hordes of shield guys and even a Gyarados with a Striker and some epic kicks. Get wrecked, Gyarados. Oh. But it's super scary and I use a ton of nades. This room was a prime example of how bonkers shit can go with the randomizer. I now want to introduce a new segment into my videos called Comment of the Day. Yes, I stole this from Ethos Lab, where I will be reading and responding to one comment left on the previous video. If you want your comment read, then leave an insightful one in this video and maybe I'll respond to it in the next. This very first comment is by Lily Fortin, who asks, do you ever think of going to Games Done Quick with a modded run like this? Do they even allow it? Maybe some other speedrun events? Yes, actually I have currently submitted this randomizer as well as the Krauser and Wesker runs to the next Games Done Quick event. The games list comes out in April, so we won't know if they accept the run until then, but it seems like an excellent choice. They do have a history of doing runs like this in the past. For example, Resident Evil 1 Remake randomizer or Link to the Past randomizer. With RE4 being so popular and the randomizer so fun, I definitely can see something like that getting in. For other speedrunning events, really the only other big one is ESA, and it's still a lot smaller than GDQ, and it's based in Europe. So I don't really want to submit and then have to fly all the way there so I could do a run, when I don't really think it'll be worth it for me. I mostly do GDQ runs because I think it's fun and it's a good influence on the community, but I really don't feel that way about ESA. It's really not big enough to warrant me going. Thanks so much for the comment, and make sure to leave one if you want me to respond to it in the next video. Once I arrive at Novi's 1, I get really lucky and land on Krauser again. Then I can do a sick little trick to skip the whole room. By using his arm mid-air, it puts me out of bounds and exactly at the perfect height to walk to the end and grab the ladder at the end, putting me back in bounds. I doubt that it was vanilla Novistadors, but it's better safe than sorry. The gallery room was quite explosive, and so was the room after the cage apparently. I love this game. When freeing Ashley from her chains, I got shield guys. And once again, I am forced to question, what the hell is their motive? Like, what is their angle, my guy? They're supposed to kidnap Ashley, but instead they beat her to a bloody pulp. This arrangement in particular is super cursed, as the shield guys are tanky and will book it full speed straight towards Ashley and beat her ass. The Matilda fortunately rips them a new boy hole, and I head into Ashley's section with her perfectly fine. The Ashley section is a little bit interesting. The mod used to have a bug, and still does if you aren't using the random function, where you would switch to Ashley and your max HP would get set to her HP. This is because Ashley's HP is hard-coded to be less than Leon's, forcing you to be in the limping state, and you would have to use yellow herbs to regain your health. Thankfully, this has been fixed, so it doesn't happen anymore, at least when the randomizer's working. Thanks, Razor. But you still have to play these sections as the new characters, and in this case, Ada. The Armaduras during the escape sequence are way scarier this time around. They can actually do their sideways swing when you play as the other characters, so you can't just YOLO run past them like you do as Ashley. This is also probably a good time to talk about Ashley. Initially, the mod would also let you play as Ashley too, but unfortunately, Ashley has a ton of unique problems like that make the game crash when playing as her. Ones that haven't been resolved just yet. So for the consistency of being able to beat the game without it crashing all the time, she has been removed. Even though my inventory is tighter than Ashley's pants, and the only character that will be able to use it is Leon, I decided to backtrack to grab the rocket launcher. The chances I get to use it are pretty low though. I would have to be in a room that Leon is in, and a room that using a rocket would be useful. And I would also have to have the rocket. That Venn diagram is a smaller overlap than the gamer with girlfriend and job Venn diagram. A few rooms later, I arrive at the most cursed room in the randomizer. The Knight's Room. This room has a ton of enemies and they can usually walk through walls, so it's a complete clusterfuck. Fortunately for me, I was playing as Hunk, and the enemies were mostly chainsaw guys. Let's just say Hunk was snapping necks and cashing checks in this room. This is great. I died a lot though too. Did I mention the enemies can walk through walls in this room? After Novies 2 turned into a big bottomless pit of exploration, I arrive at the clock tower from RE3 Remake. I just so happened to land on Krauser, so I could skip this too. During the radio call, I used an arm thrust to get out of bounds, then walk across the void and into the double Garrador room. After this is Verdugo, and I was really hoping to get Leon or Krauser here. Verdugo has approximately 6 quadrillion fuck tons of health, so killing him with any other character would be completely out of the question. In fact, with Krauser, I could just skip the whole section no matter who Verdugo randomized into by dashing during the ice cold QTE. But unfortunately, I was Ada, and the boss was Super Salvador, with Verdugo's extra HP. And Super Salvador doesn't take additional damage from being frozen like Verdugo does, so it was safe to say that I was gonna have to wait this one out. So I just ran around in circles, or, well, squares I guess, for about 3 minutes until the elevator arrived. The boulder room as Ada was really tough. Her jump down animation made old boulder skip insanely precise, so I had to do the room normally. Thankfully, the striker came in clutch against all those shield guys. Fine though. We'll just have to do it normally. Double Gigante, I was Leon, so I could have used my rocket, but at this point, I was banking on saving it for Salazar. The bosses were a Gigante and a JJ, so I used a flash to buy some time and then took out JJ with the Matilda. I then dunked the Gigante. Splish splash for taking a bath. W3 was completely free, and I ended up using Krauser for the next room afterwards. This is huge because I can do minecart skip. By getting out of bounds on this ladder, I can then walk through the wall of the elevator and just skip it, using the elevator to get to the end of the chapter. This skips the second underground section and the minecart section. Then I got super lucky and was Krauser again. This let me skip the Salazar hands room by getting out of bounds and walking to the end of the room. Then when I arrived at Salazar, I actually landed on Rion, so I could use my rocket finally. Once on island, I'm playing separate ways and could skip the whole thing. This is when I could check the final merchant, who is now selling the Killer 7 and rocket launcher. I pass on both for now though. Realistically, I could beat anything with the current setup I have, even myself. Wesker then punches a would-be regenerator in the balls so hard that he drops the keycard and I rescue Ashley. Hi-yah! Give me that key card. Ada once again is here to save the day, but protecting Ashley while there are multiple Krausers in the room for her is really difficult. I need to kill Krauser here. I have learned my lesson from the last randomizer. Wrecking Ball room was simple. I just flashed over and over again with a million flashes I had in my inventory. And the truck, I got Wesker, so I just blasted everyone off with the flick of my wrist. I got Leon for U3, but thankfully I have been stockpiling fire grenades, his biggest weakness for just this occasion. Then I DE_stroy Krauser with Ada and her sick little knife. In a turn of very unlucky fate, I am still Ada when I go to 5-4, so I can't skip any of it. Thankfully, the enemies were randomized into mostly axe guys though, so there wasn't any archers. The Gatling guys were still atrocious as always though. Even without the randomizer on, it is the most random part of the game. This is when I got super unlucky and had the game crash. That's unlucky. That's okay though. My last save was pretty far away, but I could at least get to the start of 5-4. I had a backup plan though. I just re-rolled to Krauser and then did the skips to get right past 5-4 without a single issue. The next room though would be full of issues. Double metal Gyrodors in a tiny narrow hallway. What a great parting gift. Yeah, flash grenades aren't going to be very useful against that guy. Maybe I should throw the frag grenade. I randomized to Leon for the final boss so I could use one rocket from the merchant, then the special rocket to kill him. Pretty simple really. And with that being said, I had beaten the randomizer in 2 hours, 23 minutes, and 37 seconds. What would have been less without the crashes, but hey, you know, the mod's brand new. Randomizing the character per room really changes the game a lot in some really interesting ways. It forces you to create a more balanced loadout that will work with every character, not just one. Certain characters have special abilities that make you play one room completely different than the other, depending on what character you roll, of course. Unfortunately, every room is just easier with Krauser, so you may have to resist just re-rolling to Krauser in every single room. But if you only do that when you absolutely have to, then the mod still provides a wide swath of interesting and creative encounters that really breathes a whole lot of fresh air into this old, tired game. If you want to play this mod, it is now part of the free public build of Razor's RE4 Trainer, available on Nexus Mods, for free. The enemy merchant randomizer is by RE Duke, available on ModDB for free as well. This is just those two mods playing on top of each other. If you would like help installing and setting up these mods the way I do for my video, there is a full text tutorial available on my Patreon for as little as $3. I also have tutorials for all of the other mods I use in my videos. These funds go towards justifying me making those text tutorials to help people out and funding more mod commissions like this in the future. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks to my existing Patreons for the support. Stay stylish.